morning. Welcome to the Real Stuff podcast. And today is Friday, and on Friday we normally have Poetry Corner. And this morning I have with me my co-host Courtney, and there are very, very special guests, Empress Poetry. So you know you can expect a lot. And from what I'm seeing, this is a fascinating lady. And she's going to tell us all about it, all about her journey, and of course, dropping some of this poetry on us this morning. Morning, Empress.
Good morning.
Good morning, Empress Poetry.
Good morning, sir. How are you guys?
Fine, fine, fine. And you?
I'm amazing. I'm awake.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. First, I'm going to start out. I see you're a Caribbean woman.
I'm a Barbadian woman. Yes, sir.
Wonderful, wonderful. But you grew up in New York?
No, well, I became an adult in New York, but I grew up on the island.
Oh, you did. Yeah, it's a place I have the privilege of visiting many, many times.
It's paradise.
Yeah, I love it down there. Oh, yes. So you still go home often?
I haven't in a while. You know, I had a child to raise. She became my vacation money. So, yeah. But it was a great investment, so I'm good.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, can you start out by just telling our listeners a little about Empress Poetry and why Empress Poetry?
Wow, that's a heavy question. So, why Empress Poetry?
No, just tell them a little about yourself first, and then you can move on to that.
Okay, I got you. So I am as noted before, Barbadian woman living in New York City, Brooklyn to be specific. Mom of one amazing young lady. She just turned 26 a day ago, 2 days ago. Yeah, that's about it for my personal business. As far as my stage, I started writing poetry because, well, it was my escape route. I grew up with 4 brothers, so they were doing boy stuff, and I was the only girl. So I had to sit somewhere and do something. So I read a lot, and then I started writing. Led me to college, where I continued writing. And well, when I got here, poetry was a thing. There was a whole community, and I just pretty much became a part of it. Then I got on stage, met some fantastic poets like Rasa Sajifu, that I know a lot of you know, Rasa Tiba. So I grew up in poetry with those brothers, and that exposed me to a whole lot of different stages, which then led me to people saying, well, you know, I like to hear your stuff and I'd like to read your stuff. So that led me to publishing books. And today I am spoken word artist, poet, publisher, published author, and mom through poetry.
Okay, wonderful. So you have a number of books?
I have a total of 5 books. 3 of them are published. 1 of them I discontinued. So on the market currently, I have Water into Wine, and I wrote my first erotic novel back in 2020, and I published it in 2021. That one is Good Trouble in Brooklyn, a COVID love affair.
Okay, yes, that is, yes. I'm seeing here where you have dated your journeys, like you have Journey 2011.
Yeah,
and
so
Water into Wine, Journey 2015, you know. Can you explain these journeys and the year attached to them?
The discontinued book was my first officially published book, Impressions of a Poet. Footnotes of My Journey. So that was, I had, by that time, I had over 400 pieces, and I selected 80 of my favorite out of that 400. And then it was categorized in themes. So there was a chapter that was dedicated to my daughter and her girlfriends. There was a section that was dedicated to my sisterhood, the community, love. So it was a really nice collection of poetry with a great variety as far as genres. But that's discontinued. That was my first step into publishing. And it was one that I learned a lot from, which is why I now publish my own books, because you live and you learn. I learned, and I continue to live as a published author. Water into Wine was birthed out of a space. I was in a space where I needed to push something through. You know, in life, you have all these plans and they're about to come through, but then somehow, and I've learned that it was me, that mentally I self-aborted all of these plans, and that was the reason they didn't come through. So after I realized that, I started writing, and it turned into a book, and it wrote itself pretty much based off the chapter in the Bible of Jesus turning water into wine. So it's a collection of stories and poetry with some of my life experience involved. Good Trouble in Brooklyn came during the pandemic, when my relationship died with the pandemic, when the pandemic hit during that year. And I had all these characters in my head that needed to come to life. So I put them on a page. And in real time, I documented what I was seeing of the effects of the pandemic in Brooklyn, across America, as we had the social injustice. We had all these murders and Black men being murdered, well, Black people being murdered by the law. So I pretty much documented what I was seeing and turned it into an erotic novel, sprinkled some historic facts in there, addressed some issues that was happening that weren't on the news that much, like sex trafficking was at high volumes during 2020 and 2021. So I addressed that stuff as well. So it's a little, I like to make my books a mix of good stuff, like a bag of nuts, mixed nuts. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Can you tell us about anthology Wordplay?
Tell you, Wordplay?
Yeah.
Okay, so Wordplay was actually an anthology I was a part of. It's not my publication. So that was 12 poets that I was, people I back then hung out with, and a few of them I still do, but that was back in 2012. That's discontinued as well.
Okay, wonderful. Probably you could,
Yes.
you could give us one of your favorites now.
One of my favorites, I can. Courtney, you were saying something?
Yeah, I see you use an interesting term in a prose anthology. And I was just like amazed at the word, or you keep, people would have separated the word, and I saw the words together. So it must have meant something different to, our viewers and listeners. So can you just give an explanation?
So the anthology is a collection of poetry, but different authors. That's what you...
Specific prose, I'm talking about, I see the word prose anthology in one word. So I was just wondering if it was a pun on words, or it was just something that you just came up with, using it just like that.
So sometimes my head does stuff, And that was probably one of those moments when I just threw two words together and made it a thing for me. But I don't know that it has a significance much.
Okay.
But I will pay attention now that you brought it up. I'll pay attention to what perhaps it might mean.
Okay, go ahead and spit out something for us then.
All right. So one of my favorite introductory pieces is a piece called Queen of Cool. When I step into a room, people glance for a moment, and then they catch my vibe. They see a sister enhanced with pride, a mother with a confident style, a woman with a satisfied glow. I'm a lady. Oh yeah, they know. They know that I live by the rules that make me the queen of cool. Class is in session, sisters gather round. Let me tell you how I did this. Let me break this down. See, I put myself out there, called myself trying to play the game. All I achieved was a reputation. I ruined my name. I recognized early that things were going all wrong, that my actions caused reactions with which I could not be down. I looked myself in the mirror. All I saw was pain and disgrace. Child, when I tell you I didn't recognize my own face. So I took a mental picture, took myself back to soul school. Self-love was my major. That's how I became the queen of cool. Life broke my ignorance down by steps. First, I lost my soul. My spirituality up and left, I was no longer whole. False passions and deception plagued my being. I disliked the image of me I was seeing. And then about life, I no longer cared. I was overpowered by my fears. One day, my third eye opened up, and I was finally able to see. I had to search around the ruins of my queendom in efforts to find me. I rose up tall and dusted off the residue of my past. The ghost of this experience I'd seen for the last. So sisters, that's my storyline. I now live by the golden rule. No more jiving, I'm just vibing. That's why I'm the queen of cool. And that's that piece.
Wow.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Courtney.
No, I'm just anticipating that you just give us another favorite of hers. You know, that was so wonderful.
Okay. All right. Let me see. I picked something out of Water into Wine to read. And I think I lost my page. All right. So I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and I'm a real champion for it. And I found that my pen was my strongest sword. So I write a lot of poetry to encourage victims to not stay in that seat of victimhood, that in order for you to really survive, to call yourself a survivor, you really have to survive. And surviving doesn't mean forgetting what you went through. It's forgiving that person, forgiving yourself for, even if it is that you sat there for too long, because I sat there for too long. And I had to forgive myself for that, right? So, and being honest. And back then I wasn't sure why I was the person that had to go through that, because I didn't see that in my childhood. And I didn't anticipate that I would be a candidate for that. I learned that there is no candidate for that there is no domestic violence lives in households that you wouldn't believe. It's not about status. It's not about your job, your title. Once it's in there, if you let it live, if you feed it, it will continue to live. So realizing that my pen was my strongest sword in that battle, I found my purpose. So that's the piece I'm gonna read out of Water into Wine. She was a soul burdened by fear and rejection, a shell of the woman she was created to be. She was a battered bird whose wings had been broken. an apple that had fallen too far from the tree. She was angry, broken, and bitter. Her words fierce like venomous lava on cue. She fought just to prove she's no quitter. She was repulsed by the words, I love you. See, for some time, I mean she, okay, we had a battle going on inside of me. My mind was a field of pure misery, uncertainty, negativity, devastation. Everything I conceived led to destruction. My Midas touch turned nothing to gold. I found myself in a place that was lonely and cold, where darkness was the blanket that covered me. Somewhere in the fog, a voice cried out, rescue me. I was too weak to even care about my destiny. Self-love, empowerment, that was all foreign to me. A worthless, wasted soul is all I'd known myself to be. I heard it. I felt it. I consumed it. I received it. No one would ever believe in me. I wanted to be known as a seed planted in barren lands, deep. Somewhere deep in that mud bath of pity, my soul extracted purity. After the bloodbath, my spirit was granted liberty. I was divinely baptized in a fire that blazed the way for me to be free. A lineage of kings and queens, their lives are the thread counts of my tapestry. I am an upgrade, a rebirth, a sure heir of royalty. And it all started with me, believing in me. I dived back in that pool and rescued my destiny, and she brought with her my passion. Summoning my inner diva, now I wear my purpose like couture fashion. I now stomp the stage in an inspired pump. Head up, back straight, can't keep my crown on if I slump. What was once my runway is now just another stage. Inspiration fuels my drive, which was once fostered by rage. I have evolved into the woman God created me to be. My passion is my purpose is my poetry. And it all started with me, believing in me. I am Empress Poetry. And that's that piece.
Wow, wow, that one is a bombshell.
This is deep, 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 deep. Mm.
Thank you.
Very nice, very nice. Can you give us an insight into Inkwell?
Oh, yes. So the Inkwell is a Black-owned venue in Brooklyn, owned by a family. So they are definitely great examples of generational wealth. The McCrae's are the owners, and they started in one location on Rogers Avenue, and now they're up to, well, they were at 4, but COVID actually closed the venue, which was my favorite, Bedford Avenue. But there's still 3 more. So they're open and doing business. I just haven't gotten back out into live events as yet, but that's the stage that I birthed the majority of the events that I produce. I started them at the Inkwell. So shout out to
these are live events. These are
Yes.
live events.
Yes.
Okay. So who normally perform at these events?
So I am the kind of artist that I like to get on stage, do my poetry, and get off and enjoy other people. So I tend to never do a show alone. And I have some really great poetic friends. So normally we'll have, well, I'll throw out an invitation, but I do have some biases. Like I said, I have some favorites. So a lot of times you'll find Russell Sajifu, I mentioned him before on my stage, Jamaican dub poet, Ras Yaya, St. Lucian dub poet, Nagus Adeyemi, Barbadian poet, and my god brother, a co-producer of a lot of those shows as well. Miss Busybody, a Brooklyn poet, fire on stage and off stage. I've had some folks come in There's a sister out in New Jersey. She's a vocalist. So even though I'm a poet, my show's a variety show. So I want the arts. I believe that the arts are a healing place. And I bring every genre of the arts that I can bring to the stage, I do. So there's a sister in Jersey, Gail Campbell. She is a phenomenal vocalist. And there's one of my best friends, Mimi Spence, another vocalist. She's done so many of my events. I've had veterans like Archie Miller, Barbadian Calypsonian, and my godfather. He's been on my stage. Aja, poet in Barbados, he's been there. So we've had a variety of artists to come through and bless up my stage. I'm blessed by that. Just thinking about those names, I'm blessed by that.
Wonderful. I see a very interesting name of an event here, Broughtupsy, Bajan Broughtupsy.
Yes. So Bajan Broughtupsy is a show co-produced by my godbrother and I, Nagu Sadayemi. So as poets, I don't know if other Barbadian poets here know. I do know. There was a time that the stage wasn't being offered to local artists when there were big celebrations for Barbadian independence or other events, right? Other celebrations. They bring artists in from overseas to these stages. And that's all the diaspora was seeing, was artists that they've known or that they know from social media, etc. Meanwhile, we were living amongst them and they didn't know. So my godbrother and I, we spoke about that and we decided that we would do an event and see if it would grow. So back at the Inkwell, we started that, and we had no room in the place the first show. And then the second year, we moved to a larger location at the Inkwell, and we had no room there. So we ended up taking it to a theater, and from there we bounced it around the different theaters, because since then we did our 7th year celebration last year virtually, and we've sold out each venue. And the last venue was the auditorium at Mega Ethers. So what we did was offer a stage to Barbadian artists that felt the same way that we did, that they're here, but they're not seen. And that's what Bajan Broughtupsy has been, a collection of poets, dub artists. We had theater at our last live event. We start with the Tuck Band, and they play Scrooge music. We had the stilt dancers last time. So we pretty much bring the Barbadian experience to the stage. And we do it the first Saturday of November and kick off the celebration of our independence. Well, now republicship, I guess, would be that term. Every year here in Brooklyn.
Wonderful, wonderful. Courtney?
Yes, Empress Poetry, I see that you said that your daughter is your best assignment.
Yes, that's my best poem.
Quite interesting. Give us an explanation.
So I actually call her my best poem up until last year. She turned 25, and now she's my best testimony. Like I said, I grew up in a two-family structured home. So, I mean, a two-parent structured home. So I did not know what single parenthood was. And even my friends that their parents weren't together, I still never made the connection, because even though the parents weren't together, they were raising those children together. So the term single parent was foreign to me. And the day that I gave birth to her, I looked into her face when they gave her to me, and and I whispered, I said, well, what am I supposed to do with you? And I looked into her eyes, right? And she said, I heard, we're gonna grow together, right? And I questioned, like, how was I gonna do this? Because her father had already abandoned me during the pregnancy. So I knew that at this point I was going to be taking this journey alone. It's foreign. I don't know how to navigate this world, but I'm gonna have to, because this little person is looking up at me and saying, we got this. So I've written all of my poems from that place of passion since that day, since we had that connection. And she's literally grown into my best poem. She really is. She, like I said, she turned 26 2 days ago. I can't say too much about her career, but she's a military intelligence officer. Like, she defies everything that everyone said a single parent would not produce, right? I wasn't supposed to be able to raise her in a healthy environment. The Creator placed a village around us. So every part of us that was missing, like the father was missing, but the father, the representatives of fatherhood, like my brothers and her godfathers and all the other men that stood up and stood in place for her to show her what a good man, and that all men aren't dogs. And that was really the point. All men don't abandon, and Black men do stand up, and my brothers and them, they stood up and they proved that to her. And I personally think I was a better aunt. I am a better aunt than I was a mother. But I'm grateful to the sisters that, because remember, I'm an only girl. So I had to build my sisterhood. And well, my dad had daughters in other relationships, and they're a part of my sisterhood as well. But they filled in the holes where I think that I was failing. Like the days that I was too tired and couldn't get up and take her to dance class, or because I'm working 2 jobs and I'm making sure that the bills are paid, and and it just, she just gave me everything that I needed to be able to step on stage and do my poetry truthfully. And I don't have to worry about people questioning, well, what's that experience, or did you have that experience? I write my truth, and I have no problem with it. Because if I tell it, then nobody can shame me for it. And that's basically what she's taught me. So she's built every verse in my greatest poem. That's why I love that baby.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Can you give us another one, please?
I surely can. Maybe I can do this piece. I did, on Monday, I did a new thing. I married my poem Journeys. You see that word is prominent in my verse. My first performance piece that's well over 20 years old, I turned it into a single by marrying it to the great gifts of bass player Ian Bass Boy Boyce, another talent out of Barbados, living in New York. And Monday for Valentine's Day, we dropped the first single. So it's streaming right now on podcasts and stuff, and it's on YouTube as well. But I can give you the a cappella version of it if you like. It's a little hot, it's a little spicy for 11:30 in the morning. So I hope your Christian viewers will forgive me for what's about to happen. I sat back last night and reminisced on the first time that we made love. I smiled as those memories flooded my mind, and I relived that journey. Oh, I remember. I remember looking into your eyes and comparing them to the lands of Kemet New. You laid me across a blanket made of brown mudcloth. I reached my arms up and welcomed you to the motherland. You entered at Cairo and made your way to the Sahara deserts where the heat intensified even as you created oasis after oasis, making it as wet as the Amazon jungle. You climbed the high mountains of Kenya and dipped into the Rift Valleys. Your body spoke a language as smooth as the French that flows in Sierra Leone. Slowly, you made your way to Mecca, moving skillfully around the pyramids of Giza, creating such excitement that the head of the Sphinx started spinning. Isis and Ra woke from their mummified state and gazed in amazement as you broke the dam and allowed the river Nile to flow freely. You wrote hieroglyphics on my walls and then headed for more. I sat back last night and reminisced on the first time that we made love. I smile as those memories flooded my mind and I relived that journey. Oh, I remember. I remember looking into your eyes and comparing them to twinkling stars. You laid me across a blanket made of black velvet. I reached my arms up and welcomed you to the universe. You encircled my planet, recreating the rings around Saturn, conjuring delusions as dense as the bands of clouds on Uranus. You moved with the ease of the retrograde rotation of Pluto, I swear. I've seen as many as the 8 moons on Neptune when you touched my spot, increasing my body temperature to the photosphere of the sun. I landed on Venus, struggling to breathe as you sailed through the Milky Way. You went so deep it was as if you were digging the canals on Mars, and the passion within me flowed like lava on Mercury. You reproduced nuclear reactions deep within the core of my existence. The explosions went off and I saw shooting stars and Halley's comets. And a kiss caressed me as I descended to Earth. I sat back last night and reminisced on the first time that we made love. I smile as those memories flooded my mind and I relived that journey. Oh, I remember, I remember, I remember. And that's that piece.
Wow.
Yeah, man, that is wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm also seeing here that you have ventured into radio.
Yeah, I did that. I started that. My first attempt was in well, the first show I did was a show entitled 3 Ingredients, 1 Foundation. And that was myself and 2 other hosts included. I just recently finished doing, I was the host of S.P.I.T, Spiritually Powered Inspirational Thoughts. And I recently stopped doing that as well last year, December. So I am focusing more on stage. I've been providing stages for other folks for a while now, and I've decided that I'm gonna get out and actually go on stage. So I have a couple of tour dates. I don't want to use the word tour because it's not a tour. I'm just going to be doing poetry in different places and different states. And so there's some traveling that's getting ready to happen. And I had to put some stuff on ice. So the radio show is one of them that unfortunately I had to ice for a minute. I'll be back, don't worry.
Wonderful, wonderful. As we are coming down to the close, I would definitely like to invite you back, you know, for part 2, definitely. So can you give us a couple more to go with?
I sure can. Okay, because, you know, I do have to tell people who I am. All right, this piece is entitled, I Am Barbados.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
My temperament cool like an ocean breeze off the beach at Oysters. My spice originates from Bajan hot sauce and ketchup on Granny's fish cakes, deep fried until golden brown. Energizing my smile is radiant as the sun. I am Barbados. Like cuckoo and flying fish, I am a national dish. Exotic fruits I bear, hibiscus in my hair announces my uniqueness. Caves beautiful and deep, producing mines of gold, black and blue. Skies that reflects God's favor in my eyes. I am Barbados. My heart beats rhythm of tuck and spooge. My landship grounded on principles founded by my ancestors. Grandmother waking early to meet the sun, said donkey and cart to get the job done, feeding fathers, uncles, brothers, and sons in the cane fields, and coming home to teach our daughters how to cook hot meals. I am Barbados. Communities join hands around me to show solidarity. My voice echoes from the top of Farley Hill proclaiming my liberty. I am free, independent of the chains that try to restrain me mentally. I am Bussa. Bussa is alive in me. I am Barbados. It is not meant for me to be held down. My story starts on 166 square miles of solid ground. My intricate design is of the motherlands upside down. Africa is where I originate, but I am Barbados. Pride flows through my veins because I know my legacy. I know the inheritance waiting for me because I am from the promised lands. Born in warm waters, kissed by cool breezes, I lay on white sands. I told you, I am paradise. So don't underestimate me, don't think twice. I am Barbados. So I grace the stage to represent her right. My broken trident signifies my fight. Like Sam Lloyd's house, my light shines bright to guide others to her shore. I am Barbados. And that's it.
Yeah, I love this. I love it. Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you. I don't know where to go with my last piece. You know what? I do. I want to do, this piece is called, this is actually one of my, I call this my anthem now. Daughter of a Batala, arise. Open your eyes and see your nightmares are only figments of others' fears. Fixed in a fractured frame like a jigsaw puzzle to represent who they think you should be. See yourself as the quality, one of a kind designed by the divine, most high grade, organically grown and potent, with healing properties and powers. Hold your black girl magic wand above your head and bless your own crown. Stand up in your place and know that you could never be erased or duplicated. Understand that you have been authenticated and certified as Mother Earth. First woman on the scene, Empress, Queen. This is your show. Headline like you know. You are a star. Oya to your Shango. You are Hercules Virgo, and you are never to lose your shine. Please keep this in mind. So never again will you walk naive to all that God is doing with and through you, for you know who you are. And that's that piece.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Courtney, can you sum up for us, please?
Yes, okay. Before we sum up, I just want to ask us one simple question. Empress Poetry, how do you describe your style of poetry?
Ooh. So I'm a free spirit. So I don't really give a style to my poetry. It's me. So I don't know. I don't have a style. That's me.
Okay. All right. So I'll just sum up today. First, I must thank you for appearing on the Real Stuff podcast. It was really an exciting, sensational moment with you, reciting for us. And today we spoke about your life, your Bajan Caribbean, heritage. We also, I talk of your poem, The Queen of Cool, you know, I just said something like this. She ain't no fool. She's no man's tool. Empress Poetry, you're the queen of cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you know, you touched something that is dear to me, you know, when you spoke about domestic violence against women, you know, and the brokenness, you know, that it caused, and you know, this brought forth a regeneration to you, you know, and also cause you, you know, a creative explosion within you, I think. You know, we also talk about, you know, your events at Inkwell and how you're invited in a variety of creatives to perform alongside with you. And we look at also the Bajan Broughtupsy. Yes, you know, a celebration of Barbadian independence in New York. And surely, you know, I like what it did because sometimes our people, you know, we tend to overlook the people who are close by, you know, talented people. And, you know, you look at the whole situation of how they were, you know, inviting other artists from out of Barbados to come into New York to perform. And surely, you know, that was a great, great move. But what I like most of all, though, is that poem, this romantic piece, The First Time We Made Love. You know, I am just so, you know, it's breathtaking. It's, you know, it's hard to explain, you know, the feeling right now. But I just see, you know, how you use metaphors, you know, and describe all of that. And, you know, lastly, just close out, you know, talking about you, talking about your Barbadian heritage and also of your African ancestry. And, you know, we tend to forget as a people where we really come from. And I'm so happy, you know, that you expressed, you know, all of these things. And I see a common thread with all of this, that you're always relating to the culture, to the African culture. Even in that love poem, you know, you talk about Kemet, the Sahara Desert, you know, talking about Cairo, places in Africa. And I see, you know, that you have never forget where you're coming from. So thank you again. And, you know, as Flavia said, we're gonna set you up for a part 2, because I know that you still have a whole lot more in store. So back to you, Flavius.
Thank you, Courtney.
That's where we have to leave it this morning. Any final words, Empress?
Well, thank you guys for having me. This was fun. This is really, really fun. And I have only had 1 cup of coffee for the morning, so the energy is amazing. I guess I just want to highlight the poem journeys. If you go to Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, you'll find the single that I just dropped with Ian Bass Boy Boys on Monday. You'll find that there, journeys, just type either Empress Poetry or Ian Bass Boys, and that should come up. My t-shirt, this is my t-shirt line. It's Haiku Tees by Empress Poetry. You can always find that as well. I have 7 tees out already. I started in January. So this, I believe, was the first one, and it says, love is a poem written, I can't even remember. Love is a poem written by pens, ink in truth, over clean pages. There's so many of them, I forget what they say, but Haiku Tees by Empress Poetry. My books on lulu.com, look for Empress Poetry there. Good Trouble in Brooklyn, A COVID Love Affair, Water into Wine. And I'm also a part of an anthology by Black Poet Matters, a platform that I'm a part of monthly. You'll also find my name listed. Let's find that listed under my name. Is there anything else? I have an Arts and Poetry, my first live event next month at the Inkwell, 408 Rogers Avenue. I'm doing a art and poetry collaboration with an artist from Sierra Leone. So there's a lot coming. Just look for me, Facebook, Instagram, Empress Poetry everywhere, Twitter, I'm there too. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you again. So Courtney will be in touch with you.
Sure thing. Thank you guys again. Have a great one.
Thank you very much.
Same to you.
Okay, good.
You lead us so full. You belong far away away. Ajugwala lebobu seru. Lida mua, lida sungfula. Lida mua, lida sungfula.
Well, unfortunately, this is it. Till next time. Bless.
All you gotta do is just speak. One word is enough, and I'm no longer so rough. I forget what I was trying to say. I no longer do what I was gonna do, but you're no good for me. That's why me know what set me a figure flee. Me I fi take away me say. Me I fi take away me say. Me I fi hide like a thief in the night. Me I fi get out of sight.